Beneath the endless sands, deep forests, and rolling mountains of our planet, whispers of ancient hands linger in stone and soil. Millennia before recorded history, humans shaped landscapes with precision, leaving markings, monuments, and alignments that defy simple explanation. From towering pyramids to hidden subterranean cities, these relics hint at knowledge, both practical and profound, encoded across continents. Could a shared spark of innovation connect these distant civilizations, or do they emerge independently from human ingenuity? Join us as we traverse time and terrain, seeking the hidden threads of our earliest architects and the mysteries they inscribed upon the earth. The stone circles that shouldn't exist, Göbekli Tepe, dawn spreads slowly across the arid horizon of southeastern Anatolia, and, with its rising light, the limestone pillars of Göbekli Tepe emerge from the thinning darkness like the vertebrae of some ancient stone creature long buried beneath the earth. What first appears as a cluster of unremarkable mounds gradually reveals a monumental complex whose age rewrites every assumption about when humans first began to build, organize, and imagine in ways once reserved only for far later civilizations. Excavations here demonstrate that the earliest enclosures date to roughly 9,600 BCE, a period when the world was still shaking off the last cold pulses of the Ice Age. Yet the structures uncovered exhibit architectural precision and symbolic richness that once seemed impossible for societies dependent entirely on foraging. Quarry marks and extraction scars show the pillars were carved from local limestone with flint tools, demanding both endurance and a precise understanding of fracture planes and stone behavior. Many pillars were transported hundreds of meters from their quarry points, using methods that remain debated. Experimental archaeology suggests teams may have employed wooden sledges dragged over lubricated tracks of wet clay or vegetal fibers. Such operations imply coordination among dozens of individuals, which itself contradicts common assumptions about the limited organizational capacity of late Pleistocene hunter-gatherer groups. Visitors who stand at the edge of Enclosure D encounter pillars decorated with reliefs so crisp that some appear to have been carved only decades ago rather than 12,000 years in the past. Iconographies include foxes with elongated limbs, serpents with raised heads, wild boars with bristled backs, and vultures with outstretched wings, each carved using a combination of pecking, abrading, and shallow incising techniques that indicate extensive stoneworking experience. The specific selection of species, often arranged in symbolic clusters, suggests a cultural system rich in mythic associations, expressive rituals, or conceptual storytelling far older than previously documented. Layers of sediment that were intentionally deposited over abandoned enclosures provide one of the most intriguing lines of evidence, since each enclosure appears to have been ritually filled after a period of use. This practice is confirmed through microstratigraphic analysis, showing deliberately transported sediments containing broken stone tools, butchered animal bones, and fragments of carved pillars. Such careful backfilling indicates that Göbekli Tepe was not a settlement, but a ceremonial or communal sanctuary, likely visited periodically by dispersed groups. Stable isotope studies on faunal remains reveal seasonal patterns of animal exploitation, strengthening the hypothesis that people gathered at the site during specific times of the year for rituals or shared feasting events. These social gatherings might have been essential for maintaining alliances among semi-nomadic groups navigating climatic fluctuations during the Younger Dryas's waning years. At the centre of several enclosures stand towering central pillars that rise above their ringed counterparts, and these monoliths exhibit anthropomorphic features, including stylized arms, hands resting on the abdomen, and belts adorned with abstract motifs. The presence of these human-like forms raises questions about whether the builders were depicting ancestors, mythic heroes, or supernatural beings, since no other known structure of such antiquity embodies symbolic humans at a monumental scale. Sediment cores, extracted from the surrounding region, provide insight into the environmental backdrop of Göbekli Tepe's construction, revealing a mosaic of steppe, woodland patches, and seasonal wetlands sustained by post-glacial hydrological changes. Pollen analyses reconstructed from these cores demonstrate shifts in plant communities that coincided with climatic warming, which allowed wild cereals such as einkorn wheat to flourish across hill slopes. The presence of grinding stones, strainers, and large storage pits within nearby sites like Karahan Tepe indicates that the broader cultural complex involved early experimentation with plant processing long before full domestication. Such developments make the sophistication of Göbekli Tepe less anomalous, since they suggest that people in the region had begun to organize labor-intensive practices even before agriculture fully emerged. Osteological examination of animal remains reveals a predominance of wild gazelle bones, often associated with extensive feasting activities. These findings offer a glimpse into the energetic demands of constructing and maintaining Göbekli Tepe. Large gatherings would have required resource planning, seasonal hunting strategies, and shared labor networks spanning multiple groups. The scale of cooperation challenges the stereotype of small, isolated foraging bands operating independently, instead suggesting interconnected communities with the ability to orchestrate complex communal enterprises. The site's orientation has also inspired extensive research. Although Göbekli Tepe does not display the strict cardinal alignment seen in later monuments, some enclosures appear oriented toward celestial events or notable horizons. Archaeologists debate whether certain pillar positions correspond to patterns of bright stars during the late Pleistocene, but no consensus has emerged. Such design requirements imply cognitive capacities indistinguishable from those of later architectural traditions considered hallmarks of early civilization. This chronology disrupts the classic model in which agriculture leads to permanent settlements, which then give rise to monumental architecture. Göbekli Tepe instead suggests the reverse. Ritual centers may have united people first, generating the communal pressures that later led to cultivation and settlement. Such an inversion implies that some of the earliest sparks of civilization emerged not from economic necessity, but from collective imagination, ritual expression, and coordinated symbolic labor. Archaeologists working at Göbekli Tepe emphasize that despite its astonishing scale and symbolic richness, no evidence supports the presence of a forgotten global civilization or advanced technological culture predating known Neolithic societies. The site, therefore, provides one of the strongest arguments that complex social knowledge existed far earlier than scholars once believed. Yet it does not confirm the existence of a singular first civilization lost to history. Instead, it reframes civilization as a gradual spectrum rather than a sudden emergence, with Göbekli Tepe representing a profound early step along that continuum. As the sun falls behind the ridges, the pillars seem to lean inward as though whispering across millennia. Their survival challenges us to reconsider the boundaries we place on early human capability, suggesting that the earliest architectural ambitions may have risen long before agriculture or writing. And as we follow the spreading threads of ancient innovation across the world, we soon arrive at an island chain where stone temples emerge from bedrock with equal mystery, echoing the same questions about how early societies organized knowledge and ritual into structures that endured beyond memory. The oldest temples of the Mediterranean, Malta's megalithic enigma. Across the Mediterranean, the journey shifts from Anatolia to Malta's limestone terraces, where stone foundations defy Neolithic expectations. Here, on a cluster of small islands far from continental influence, stand temples older than the earliest pyramids, built by hands whose origins remain veiled by time and by seas that have risen and fallen across thousands of years. Limestone blocks, hewn from coralline bedrock, introduce the first perplexing detail in Malta's prehistoric architecture, because the mass of these megaliths, some weighing more than 50 tons, requires coordinated labour on a scale rarely associated with small island populations. Tool marks show flint, chert, and volcanic stone were used, indicating access to both local and imported carving materials. This combination of heavy engineering and precise workmanship suggests a society capable of organising large workforces, maintaining long-term construction projects, and applying highly developed knowledge of stone behaviour. Curved chambers, arranged in cloverleaf patterns, reveal a design tradition that diverges sharply from the rectilinear tendencies of nearby Neolithic cultures and highlights a conceptual complexity that appears without regional prototypes. Sites like Ager, Kim, and Tarxian reveal interconnected apses expanding in arcs, forming intentionally rhythmic, symbolic spaces. The repetitive appearance of these forms across separate temples indicates not merely artistic preference, but architectural standardization, implying shared design principles communicated across generations. Despite the sophistication of these constructions, no transitional experiments or earlier prototypes have been discovered on Malta or neighbouring islands, intensifying the puzzle of how such mastery appeared in isolation. Solar alignments embedded within Mnadra's temple complex demonstrate a grasp of astronomical cycles that required long-term observation and a deep understanding of celestial rhythms that guided seasonal activity. At the solstices, the angle of the sunrise shifts, creating a separate pattern of illumination that may have served as a calendrical marker. These alignments are not accidental. Architectural surveys confirm that angles and orientations are consistent with repeated observational measurements over many years. Such precision challenges assumptions about the cognitive and scientific capacities of small island populations operating in the Neolithic world. Architectural motifs, carved into interior slabs, show stylistic consistency across multiple temples despite differing construction phases, revealing a shared symbolic language whose meaning remains uncertain. Spiral engravings, reliefs of vegetal patterns, and representations of what may be altars or ritual spaces suggest an iconography distinct from that of mainland Europe, where figurative art dominated. These carvings deepen the mystery of Malta's culture because, without clear parallels from nearby societies, their aesthetic lineage becomes increasingly difficult to trace, raising the possibility of an ideological framework carried from an unknown origin. Sediment layers surrounding the temple floors provide datable material that anchors the earliest phases of Malta's megalithic construction between 3,600 and 3,200 BCE, establishing them as some of the oldest freestanding stone monuments in the world. Radiocarbon samples extracted from charcoal fragments, organic debris, and compacted earth confirm that these structures predate Mycenaean palace complexes, Egyptian pyramids, and Sumerian ziggurats by centuries. Archaeostratigraphic correlations between floors and surrounding fill demonstrate periods of active use, renovation, and deliberate infill, suggesting an extended cultural investment in maintaining sacred or communal spaces. Such deep timelines, combined with evidence of persistent architectural evolution, raise the broader question of whether the knowledge underlying these achievements originated locally or was inherited from an earlier, now vanished, maritime network. Absence of transitional sites in Sicily, Italy, or North Africa forces archaeologists to reconsider long-held models of cultural diffusion. Because Malta's temples do not fit expected developmental sequences seen elsewhere, surveys across southern Europe reveal pottery styles, tool technologies, and settlement layouts that change gradually over time. But the architectural explosion on Malta appears as a sudden phenomenon, unsupported by earlier regional prototypes. The lack of training sites, experimental structures, or smaller precursor monuments leaves a conspicuous void in the archaeological record. This void is not merely academic. It demands an explanation for how such advanced architectural capability emerged within a population that, according to genetic and material evidence, originated from agrarian groups migrating from Sicily. Prehistoric cart ruts etched into the bedrock extend unpredictably across the island, suggesting transport methods that remain uncertain and perhaps connected to the movement of heavy stone blocks. Some ruts measure up to 1/2 metre deep, indicating prolonged, heavy use by some form of wheeled or sled-based system. Their presence near major temple complexes implies logistical planning that required infrastructure beyond what is visible today, and their extension into submerged areas raises questions about landscapes lost to rising sea levels. Marine pollen trapped in coastal cave deposits indicates fluctuating sea levels that would have reshaped Malta's shoreline during the Neolithic, altering access to landscapes that may once have held additional sites. Palynological studies of Gar, Dalam, and other caves reveal climatic oscillations affecting vegetation and resource availability, which in turn influenced settlement patterns. These environmental shifts imply that the current coastline does not represent the boundaries within which Malta's temple culture operated. Submerged terraces, now lying beneath tens of meters of water, may contain evidence of earlier structures or habitation zones erased by Holocene marine transgression. Statues of corpulent figures found within temple chambers complicate assumptions about ideological continuity across the region because they differ markedly from the iconic female figurines of mainland Europe and Anatolia. The Malta statues, often interpreted as representations of ritual leaders or deities, exhibit unique proportions and stylistic traits not matched by contemporary cultures. These figures contribute to the sense that Malta's temple culture developed its own symbolic system, one whose origins must be sought not in external influences, but in internal cosmologies or in long-lost maritime exchanges. Stone tool analysis reveals far-reaching trade links, including obsidian from Lipari and volcanic stones from Pantelleria. These materials demonstrate that Malta's inhabitants participated in long-distance exchange networks, challenging perceptions of isolated island life. The acquisition of such resources required either direct maritime travel or indirect participation in regional trading circuits, both of which imply familiarity with seafaring technologies. These connections strengthen the hypothesis that knowledge could have spread across water rather than land, and that the absence of intermediary architectural traditions may reflect maritime pathways rather than overland cultural evolution. Below Malta's blazing sky, the enigma of its megalithic mastery lingers unresolved, because while its temples stand in monumental testimony to early engineering brilliance, their origins remain shrouded by absent precursors and submerged shorelines. As the chapter's final stones echo with unanswered questions, the possibility that older structures may lie hidden beneath ancient coastlines compels the investigation to turn toward landscapes now drowned by rising seas, where the next clues in the story of early civilizations may wait beneath shifting currents. Beneath the waves, the submerged structures of Yonaguni. The story of human ingenuity plunges into shadowed waters beyond the Mediterranean horizon, where a submerged plateau off Japan beckons exploration and debate. Here, off the southern coast of the Ryukyu Islands, lies a formation that stretches for hundreds of meters beneath the East China Sea, its broad terraces and angular plains glinting faintly in filtered sunlight. The Yonaguni Monument, as it has come to be known, is at once mesmerizing and perplexing. At first glance, it resembles a step pyramid, yet its origins, natural or human, remain hotly contested. Divers descending along its slopes are immediately struck by the scale, the flatness of surfaces, and the seeming symmetry of edges, all of which evoke the unmistakable signature of deliberate construction, while geologists urge caution, citing tectonic fracturing and erosion as plausible explanations. The terraces stretch across the seabed in angular formations that defy casual interpretation, rising in sequences of ledges that descend into deeper waters. Each platform measures several meters in height, and its arrangement creates spaces that could have accommodated ceremonial activity, habitation, or practical utility. Photogrammetric surveys reveal that many surfaces are unnaturally flat, intersected by perpendicular grooves and channels whose regularity hints at deliberate shaping. Yet these same features are consistent with joints in the sandstone bedrock, later smoothed by currents, storms, and seismic activity, making it difficult to assign human intent with certainty. Geologists examining fracture patterns argue that the flat surfaces and sharp edges could result from natural tectonic activity and subsequent erosion over thousands of years. Yonaguni lies along a seismically active margin where uplift, subsidence, and repetitive faulting could produce planar surfaces and angular steps. Wave action, abrasive sediment transport, and pressure solution phenomena further modify the rock, gradually rounding some edges while leaving others strikingly angular. Laboratory studies of fracture mechanics and regional geology reinforce this interpretation, suggesting that much of the apparent monumentality could be explained without recourse to human hands. Proponents of human intervention, however, point to what appear to be right-angled corners, stair-like steps, and aligned depressions as evidence of deliberate construction. Divers have documented terraces that intersect at near-perfect right angles and ledges that form continuous planes, along with channels whose straightness challenges typical natural patterns. Small protrusions and depressions on some surfaces resemble sockets or post holes, while vertical cuts in exposed walls have been interpreted as tool marks. The precision, proponents argue, implies knowledge of measurement, coordinated labour, and stoneworking skill that could have been applied by coastal populations during the late Pleistocene, when sea levels were significantly lower. Sonar mapping and underwater photogrammetry reveal layers of sediment and collapsed blocks that suggest both geological stress and potential modification. Large boulders sit atop terraces, some dislodged from higher points, while finer sand and mud accumulate in depressions, forming natural stratigraphy that can be dated. These layers allow researchers to estimate periods of exposure above water and subsequent submersion, providing a temporal framework for evaluating human activity. Yet the mixing of tectonic and sedimentary processes complicates interpretation. Collapsed blocks may resemble construction debris, while natural planar surfaces can mimic walls and stairs, leaving the debate unresolved. Radiocarbon dating of associated marine deposits and nearby terrestrial artifacts provides a temporal framework, situating the site within dramatic Pleistocene sea level changes. Around 12,000 years ago, sea levels were up to 120 meters lower, which would have exposed Yonaguni and connected it to habitable coastal plains. If human modification occurred, this window represents a plausible period when coastal communities could have constructed terraces, moved stone, or established ceremonial spaces. Nearby cave sites on Okinawa show evidence of human presence, including stone tools, shell middens, and hearths, confirming that the region supported small populations capable of maritime activity and resource exploitation. Comparative analysis with known Ice Age coastal settlements indicates that humans may have possessed the capacity for monumental coastal engineering, even in regions now submerged. Early hunter-gatherers exploited predictable marine resources and may have had social structures sufficient for cooperative labor. Experiments simulating stone transport and placement suggest that small groups could have manipulated terraces using rudimentary levers, rollers, or sleds, though the scale of Yonaguni complicates such reconstructions. Whether these skills extended to monumental shaping or were reserved for functional coastal modifications remains speculative. Marine currents and tectonic activity complicate efforts to distinguish natural formations from potential human alterations, creating a puzzle that is both tantalizing and frustrating. Submerged terraces are periodically scoured by typhoons, shifted by seismic jolts, and abraded by sediment-laden waves. Each event can create features that mimic artificial carving, yet subtle asymmetries, alignment patterns, and concavities hint at possible intervention. The interplay between natural forces and hypothesized human shaping invites a dual narrative where each interpretation amplifies the mystery without delivering certainty. Interpretations must also account for erosion patterns, sediment deposition rates, and seismic influences that continue to shape the seafloor. Studies of similar sandstone formations along Japan's coasts show that natural fracturing produces steps, ledges, and terraces over millennia. Conversely, careful observation of repetitive angles, linear depressions, and potential post holes introduces the possibility that ancient people may have augmented the natural landscape. This balance between caution and imagination underpins the ongoing debate and ensures that Yonaguni continues to challenge the conventional narrative of early monumental architecture. Despite decades of investigation, the site's origins remain unresolved, embodying the tension between cautious science and speculative imagination. Every dive and sonar sweep adds detail, yet the interpretation of those details depends on the observer's perspective, assumptions, and theoretical framework. Yonaguni may ultimately be a geological marvel, a human-engineered monument, or a combination of both, but either outcome expands our understanding of what Ice Age coastal populations could perceive, imagine, and accomplish. As sunlight fades into deeper waters, Yonaguni's terraces linger as both geological wonder and enigmatic monument, and as the waves carry sediment and light across its surfaces, they whisper of other places where early knowledge may have been recorded, mapped, or preserved. From these submerged anomalies, we are drawn next to a centuries-old map that hints at the persistence of ancient understanding long after its creators vanished, suggesting that the human impulse to record and navigate the world endures even when memory is submerged beneath time and tide. The map that shouldn't know Antarctica, the Piri-Reis puzzle. From the sunken terraces of Yonaguni, our attention turns to ink and parchment, where a 1,513 map encodes coastlines that challenge conventional chronology. The Piri-Reis map, carefully rendered on gazelle parchment, presents Africa, South America, and a coastline interpreted by some scholars as Antarctica, centuries before its official discovery. Its lines are precise, rivers and islands meticulously noted, and distances surprisingly consistent, suggesting knowledge inherited from older sources rather than the observations of a single 16th century navigator. The chart is both a practical navigational tool and a cryptic repository of knowledge, hinting that human observation, memory, and recording extended far beyond the lifetimes of its immediate creators. The Piri Reis map was discovered in the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, preserved among Ottoman naval records. Upon closer inspection, researchers noticed that Reis cited numerous sources, including Portuguese and Spanish maps, as well as unnamed charts from the ancients. These references, often vague, suggest that the map represents a synthesis of knowledge accumulated over centuries, potentially reaching back to coastal communities whose own observations predated recorded history. The blending of first-hand accounts with inherited charts allows the map to depict regions with surprising accuracy, as if centuries of seafaring intelligence were encoded into a single document. The coastlines depicted on the map, particularly the southern reaches interpreted as Antarctica, have fueled considerable debate. The contours align remarkably well with modern measurements of the Antarctic coastline, once ice sheets are hypothesized to have been lower or absent, lending credence to the idea that Piri Reis may have relied on older geographic information. The inclusion of rivers, bays, and islands that no longer exist above water suggests that the map preserves fragments of a vanished world. Scholars caution that some features may be imaginative, yet the correspondence of certain positions and proportions with modern geography is difficult to dismiss as a coincidence. Careful study of Reis's annotations reveals a meticulous approach to sourcing. Notes indicate that he consulted charts from various European navigators and possibly earlier unknown sources. Piri Reis emphasized that he did not create the map in isolation, but compiled information from a vast corpus of prior knowledge. This methodology points to a sophisticated awareness of knowledge transmission. Geographic understanding could persist across generations, surviving through oral accounts, earlier charts, and memory. Even as civilizations rose and fell, the possibility that Ice Age or early Holocene coastal knowledge informed these charts cannot be conclusively proven, but it cannot be entirely ruled out either. Modern satellite reconstructions and ice core data suggest that sections of the Antarctic coastline, now buried under kilometers of ice, may have been free of ice during the late Pleistocene, aligning intriguingly with features depicted on the map. Recent studies of paleogeography indicate that parts of the Antarctic coastline could have been ice-free approximately 6,000, 12,000 years ago, revealing bays, promontories, and river-like indentations that closely match the southernmost portions of the Piri Reis chart. Ocean sediment cores further suggest that coastal erosion and glacial activity reshaped these shorelines in subsequent millennia. Some researchers argue that the map's depiction reflects inherited knowledge from early seafaring cultures that navigated or recorded these coastlines before rising sea levels submerged them. While controversial, this line of evidence strengthens the argument that the map contains more than contemporary 16th century observations. It may encode fragments of ancient geographic memory preserved through earlier charts or oral transmission. Geographers marvel at the map's scale and positional accuracy, which often surpasses contemporary European standards. Measurements of South America's eastern coast and the Caribbean islands are particularly precise, with distances and orientations that suggest careful observation and calculation. Even with the navigational instruments available in the early 1500s, achieving such precision would have been extraordinarily difficult without access to pre-existing data. This raises profound questions about the sources Piri Reis used and the potential survival of maritime intelligence across centuries. Scholarly debate continues regarding the nature of the map's accuracy. Some argue it reflects inherited knowledge from ancient civilizations capable of sophisticated coastal surveying, while others attribute the precision to careful compilation and extrapolation from available reports. The possibility of transmitted maritime knowledge from earlier epochs does not necessarily imply a fully developed civilization, but does suggest that human groups had the observational skills, seafaring capabilities, and cognitive frameworks to record and preserve vital geographic information over extended periods. The juxtaposition of accurate coastlines with mythical islands, incomplete features, and occasional anomalies underscores the blend of observation, tradition, and interpretation inherent in early maps. Some islands may have existed during lower sea levels in the Ice Age, while others may have been misreported or exaggerated by earlier navigators. Rivers drawn inland that no longer exist above water hint at the preservation of ancient topography. Together, these elements illustrate how practical navigation, inherited knowledge, and legend intertwined in the creation of charts that guided explorers across unfamiliar seas. Comparisons with later maps demonstrate that certain features depicted by Piri Reis disappeared over time, reinforcing the idea that the chart preserves knowledge that might otherwise have been lost. Coastal erosion, rising seas, and shifting shorelines have erased evidence of these earlier landscapes. The map, therefore, serves as a unique temporal record, a bridge between past observations and the explorers of the early 16th century. Its value lies not only in its navigational utility, but in its capacity to encode inherited knowledge across generations, reflecting the resilience and continuity of human curiosity. While no proof exists of an Ice Age mapmaker, the precision of the Piri Reis chart implies that inherited geographic knowledge guided early explorers in ways previously unimagined. It is a testament to the capacity of humans to record, transmit, and synthesize complex information across centuries. The map captures fragments of landscapes that have changed or vanished, offering a glimpse into a chain of knowledge that may stretch back far beyond the lifetimes of its documented creators. Its continued study challenges assumptions about the origins of cartographic skill and the endurance of human observation. As inked coastlines trace shadows of ancient seas, the persistence of this maritime knowledge invites us toward arid deserts, where silent stones align with the stars, hinting at the same human impulse to map, measure, and interpret the world on land as much as on water. The precision and care embedded in the Piri Reis map remind us that knowledge, whether recorded beneath the waves, upon parchment, or in memory, can endure far longer than its creators, guiding the next chapter of discovery and prompting us to seek where human ingenuity left its mark across both land and sky. The first astronomers nabbed to Playa's celestial stones. From inked coastlines preserved on parchment, we now turn to the open desert, where stones mark the rhythm of the stars long before written history. In the remote expanses of southern Egypt, Nabta Playa rises as one of the earliest known centres of astronomical observation. Its carefully placed stones, forming circular arrangements, alignments, and tumuli that predate Egypt's first pharaohs by millennia. Beneath the scorching sun and beneath the vast night sky, these stones stand as silent witnesses to human ingenuity, revealing a people who measured time, tracked celestial patterns, and intertwined observation with ritual in a landscape that demanded both creativity and resilience. The desert itself seems to conspire with their intentions, offering a flat, open canvas on which to plot the heavens with remarkable precision. Nabta Playa, first excavated in the 1970 seconds, consists of multiple stone circles ranging from simple arrangements to complex configurations measuring over 30 meters in diameter. Excavators uncovered artifacts including pottery, animal bones, and hearths, indicating the site was seasonally occupied by a settled yet mobile community. The arrangement of stones suggests deliberate placement to capture solar and stellar phenomena, hinting at an awareness of celestial cycles beyond immediate survival needs. Some stones align to mark the summer solstice sunrise, while others correspond to prominent stars such as those in Orion's belt, reflecting an understanding of the seasonal sky that would have guided planting, herding, and ritual activity. Excavations reveal that Nabta Playa was not merely a ritual site, but also a sophisticated tool for tracking time and environmental change. Carbon dating places its earliest construction around 6000 BCE, coinciding with a wetter period in the Sahara when lakes and rivers supported pastoralist communities. Archaeologists have identified complex layers of construction, including concentric circles and radial alignments that required precise measurement and coordination over generations. Such sophistication implies a cognitive framework capable of planning, communal collaboration, and long-term observation qualities essential for the development of early scientific knowledge. Archaeologists have identified specific stone alignments that correspond to astronomical phenomena. A set of megaliths appears to mirror Orion's belt, a constellation that held significance for later Egyptian cosmology. Others mark the rising of Sirius, or the summer solstice, serving as early calendars for seasonal activities. This integration of practical observation with symbolic meaning suggests that the builders possessed both empirical knowledge and cultural frameworks that imbued the stars with significance. The combination of utility and ritual demonstrates that Nabta Playa functioned as an observational observatory, a ceremonial space, and a communal anchor point for a dispersed desert population. Laser surveys and 3D modelling of the stones reveal that their alignments correspond not only to the solstices, but also to complex lunar cycles, suggesting a far deeper grasp of celestial mechanics than previously assumed. Using modern technology, researchers have reconstructed the layout of Nabta Playa's stones in precise digital models, revealing patterns that track lunar standstills occurring every 18.6 years. In addition to solar events, some megaliths appear to function as gnomons or markers for observational triangulation, enabling early skywatchers to predict seasonal changes with remarkable accuracy. Analysis of sightlines shows intentional placement for observations of both rising and setting points of key stars, allowing the community to maintain calendars synchronized with both solar and lunar cycles. These findings highlight the sophisticated empirical understanding underpinning Nabta Playa, demonstrating that prehistoric societies could integrate long-term astronomical cycles into communal planning and ritual life. The cultural and environmental context of Nabta Playa reinforces its significance. Paleoenvironmental studies indicate that during the site's peak occupation, the Sahara was a savanna dotted with lakes and seasonal wetlands, supporting herding and possibly early forms of cultivation. Such an environment would have required careful timing of migrations, planting, and water management, making astronomical observation a practical necessity as well as a spiritual pursuit. Stone placements may have served multiple purposes, marking solar events for agricultural planning, aligning with stars for ritual significance, and acting as communal markers of identity and memory. Excavations also reveal tumuli and burial sites interspersed among the stone circles, suggesting that Nabta Playa served as a sacred landscape, intertwining the cycles of life and death with cosmic observation. The placement of graves near particular alignments may reflect beliefs about the afterlife or the movement of celestial bodies. This combination of astronomy, ceremony, and funerary practice indicates a society capable of abstract thought, long-term planning, and symbolic representation, early hallmarks of cognitive sophistication traditionally associated with later civilizations. Comparison with later Egyptian temple orientations highlights the enduring influence of these early astronomical practices. Many temples along the Nile are aligned with solstices or stellar risings, suggesting that the observational knowledge pioneered at Nabta Playa informed architectural decisions centuries later. While Nabta Playa's builders did not create monumental architecture in stone on the scale of the pyramids, their precise alignment of relatively small stones demonstrates a conceptual continuity, an understanding that human constructions could mirror the cosmos and mark the passage of time in enduring ways. The scale, precision, and continuity of Nabta Playa reveal a remarkable level of social organization and shared knowledge. Coordinating labor, transporting stones, and maintaining observational records across generations would have required communication, memory, and collective planning. These activities, though modest in material terms, demonstrate early forms of scientific reasoning, observation, and experimentation. The site illustrates that early humans were capable of intellectual achievements often underestimated by conventional definitions of civilization, blending observation, culture, and ritual into a coherent, functional whole. While Nabta Playa's builders may not have formed a civilization in the traditional sense, their astronomical knowledge indicates an early scientific mindset and suggests that certain cultural traditions tracking the heavens, observing seasons, and aligning communal structures with celestial events were widely shared across prehistoric human groups. The meticulous placement of stones, the integration of ritual and utility, and the careful observation of the sky collectively hint at a continuity of intellectual pursuit that bridges the gap between hunter-gatherer subsistence and later monumental achievement along the Nile. As the desert stars continue their eternal dance above Nabta Playa, they hint at the enduring human desire to chart, understand, and harmonize with the cosmos, an impulse that would one day shape the towering monuments along the Nile. The precision and foresight embedded in these stone circles demonstrate that early humans, even in harsh desert landscapes, sought to measure time, map the heavens, and leave traces of knowledge for generations to come. In observing the celestial stones, we glimpse the first sparks of structured knowledge, an ancient dialogue between earth and sky that continues to illuminate humanity's relentless curiosity. Engineering beyond time, the precision of the Great Pyramid, where stones once marked the stars, now a singular mountain of limestone rises from the Giza Plateau, a testament to the precision of human hands. The Great Pyramid of Khufu dominates the landscape, its perfect geometric silhouette casting a shadow across the desert sands. At sunrise, the edges of its base catch the first rays, revealing the meticulous alignment and care invested in its construction. Unlike earlier stone arrangements at Nabta Playa, here the ambition is monumental, transforming measurement and observation into an enduring architectural statement. The pyramid embodies both practical engineering and symbolic intention, harmonizing technical skill with cultural significance in a way that has fascinated observers for centuries. Surveyors have marveled at the Great Pyramid's alignment to true north, accurate to within a fraction of a degree, a feat unmatched for thousands of years. The orientation suggests careful observation of circumpolar stars, the sun, and possibly even the shadows cast over time, revealing an empirical approach to geometry and astronomy. This precision underlines the sophistication of Old Kingdom surveying methods, demonstrating that a civilization of remarkable organization and intellect could achieve what might appear impossible. The pyramid's alignment is not only a functional accomplishment, but a cultural statement linking terrestrial construction to the heavens in a continuous dialogue between human aspiration and cosmic order. The base of the pyramid is astonishingly level, with deviations of mere centimeters across each side, reflecting meticulous planning and surveying techniques. Workers likely employed leveling tools, plumb lines, and water-filled trenches to establish a perfectly horizontal plane, ensuring structural stability and precise geometric proportions. This level of accuracy required not only technical knowledge, but a coordinated workforce capable of maintaining consistency across massive construction projects. The precision of the base laid the foundation for every subsequent layer, ensuring that the pyramid's imposing height did not compromise its integrity. Each block, weighing multiple tons, was quarried, transported, and positioned with remarkable accuracy. Limestone and granite were carefully selected, cut, and moved using sledges, ramps, and coordinated labor, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of physics and mechanics. The sheer scale of the operation demanded organized planning, supply management, and logistical coordination across vast distances. Workers' camps, quarries, and transport routes reveal a society capable of sustained, large-scale engineering, reflecting both communal effort and meticulous record-keeping. Internal chambers, passageways, and ventilation shafts reveal deliberate design, harmonizing structural stability with symbolic and astronomical considerations. The King's Chamber, for instance, aligns with certain stars, while the Grand Gallery demonstrates a keen understanding of weight distribution and engineering principles. The careful placement of air shafts may have served spiritual or functional purposes, yet their precision reflects advanced planning. The pyramid is a nexus of function, symbolism, and science, a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of the civilization that erected it. Laser scans and 3D maps now show that each of the Great Pyramid's 2.3 million blocks was positioned with centimeter-level accuracy, a testament to ancient engineers' meticulous attention to detail. These advanced surveys demonstrate that stones were not merely stacked, but carefully adjusted to account for settling, thermal expansion, and load distribution, ensuring the pyramid's stability over millennia. Evidence of leveling sockets, interlocking corners, and subtle inclinations in the courses of limestone shows that the builders understood principles akin to modern civil engineering. Moreover, studies of chisel marks and quarrying patterns indicate systematic approaches to stone shaping, allowing massive blocks to fit with precision despite their irregular shapes. Combined with precise measurements of angles, orientations, and alignment with cardinal points, these findings highlight a level of engineering foresight that challenges assumptions about prehistoric construction, while remaining firmly within Old Kingdom Egyptian capabilities. Experimental archaeology has provided additional insights into construction techniques. Teams of modern engineers have replicated small sections of the pyramid using period-appropriate tools and techniques, showing that with careful planning, teamwork, and ingenuity, Old Kingdom Egyptians could achieve remarkable accuracy. These experiments demonstrate that no supernatural intervention is required to explain the pyramid's construction. Instead, disciplined observation, systematic measurement, and cooperative effort suffice to account for these extraordinary achievements. Geologists and engineers continue to analyze limestone composition, quarry locations, and construction sequences to better understand the logistics behind the pyramid. Evidence from nearby Tura and Aswan quarries shows how material selection, transportation, and sequential placement were optimized for efficiency and precision. The knowledge embedded in the stone, from grain orientation to layering techniques, reveals that the Egyptians combined empirical understanding with practical ingenuity, achieving results that remain unmatched in scale and exactitude, even by modern construction standards. Questions linger over ancient techniques, as the pyramid's perfection seems to exceed expectations, yet every aspect of its construction remains within documented historical capabilities. The precision, alignment, and durability of the structure testify to human skill rather than mysterious intervention. Its enduring majesty inspires awe, but it is ultimately a product of observation, experimentation, and societal organization, an apex of human potential realized through intelligence, labor, and creativity, rather than through secret wisdom passed down from an earlier civilization. The pyramid's enduring presence demonstrates not only technical skill, but also the organizational and societal structures that enabled large-scale, coordinated construction. Coordinating tens of thousands of workers, managing material supply, and ensuring geometric precision required sophisticated administration and communication. These feats highlight the Egyptians' capacity for long-term planning, division of labor, and meticulous execution, illustrating that human ambition, when combined with knowledge and cooperation, can produce structures of extraordinary permanence and beauty. While awe-inspiring, the Great Pyramid confirms that extraordinary human ingenuity, rooted in observation, measurement, and collaboration, can achieve seemingly impossible feats. Its existence bridges the gap between early observational practices, like those at Nabta Playa, and the monumental architecture of advanced states. It demonstrates continuity in human curiosity, the desire to measure and master space, and the ability to translate observation into enduring construction. Every stone, chamber, and alignment embodies a narrative of intellect, effort, and precision, revealing the latent capacity of organized societies to achieve feats that inspire wonder across millennia. Yet, across the ocean, distant stones await, carved and placed with a precision that continues to defy imagination, reminding us that the human impulse to master matter is universal, transcending both time and culture. The Great Pyramid, while firmly within the capabilities of Old Kingdom Egypt, sets a standard of precision and ambition that invites comparison with other enigmatic structures worldwide. As we leave the plateau of Giza, we are drawn toward these distant mysteries, prepared to explore stonework that challenges our understanding of ancient engineering, and to ask once again, how far did human ingenuity reach before history recorded its full story? Polygonal mysteries, Sacsayhuaman and the Andean Enigma. High above the valley floor, terraces of enormous stones interlock with astonishing precision, a testament to Andean ingenuity. Perched on a ridge overlooking modern-day Cusco, Sacsayhuaman presents walls of polygonal masonry so intricate that even the most advanced surveying techniques struggle to explain their exactitude. Each massive block seems carved to fit perfectly against its neighbours, forming walls that curve and bend with organic fluidity, yet remain structurally sound across centuries of seismic activity. The scale and sophistication of this construction defy simple explanation, challenging assumptions about pre-Columbian engineering and hinting at a long lineage of observational knowledge and hands-on experience. The terraces dominate the landscape, blending natural terrain with deliberate human intervention in a seamless expression of both power and artistry. Each polygonal block, weighing multiple tons, is shaped to fit seamlessly with its neighbours, leaving no gaps larger than a hair's breadth. Unlike the uniform limestone blocks of Egypt, The stones at Sacsayhuaman vary in size and angle, requiring remarkable skill and intuition to interlock them precisely. The apparent randomness of shapes belies the meticulous planning required. Every stone's face seems tailored to the unique angles of those around it. Certain stones weigh upwards of 200 tons, yet they nestle together so perfectly that even a knife blade cannot fit between them. The effect is both structural and aesthetic, producing walls that are earthquake resistant while radiating a quiet visual harmony, a blend of naturalism and controlled design. Geologists trace the origins of these stones to quarries located miles away, revealing the logistical challenges faced by the builders. Some blocks were transported from quarries as far as 8 kilometers over rugged slopes and steep ridges, highlighting the ingenuity required to move such immense weights without modern machinery. Stone surfaces show tool marks consistent with hammerstones, abrasion, and systematic chiseling, indicating a deliberate shaping process. Additionally, soil and sediment analysis at the site suggests that temporary ramps and scaffolding may have facilitated precise placement. The sheer effort involved underscores the organizational sophistication of pre-Inca societies, demonstrating that monumental construction was achievable through careful observation, planning, and communal effort. The walls curve and twist organically, yet each stone maintains perfect contact with its neighbors, suggesting careful planning and an intuitive understanding of structural stability. Unlike Egyptian pyramids, where geometry dictates form, these Andean constructions seem to embrace a dynamic flexibility, responding to the uneven terrain while maintaining durability. Some researchers propose that the builders employed a trial and error approach, guided by experience and environmental observation, while others speculate that long-standing cultural knowledge passed through generations informed each placement. The curvature also provides additional seismic resistance, allowing the walls to shift slightly during earthquakes without collapsing, a feature that has preserved the structure through centuries of tremors. Layered beneath the surface, excavations uncover evidence of pre-Inca foundations and earlier construction phases, hinting at techniques passed through generations. Layers beneath the visible walls contain remnants of older terraces and stone courses, suggesting iterative improvements over centuries. Radiocarbon dating of nearby organic remains and mortar-like clay material indicates that construction spanned multiple phases over several centuries, with new blocks integrated into older layouts. The continuity of technique implies a living tradition of masonry, refined with each generation of builders, preserving knowledge that allowed successive societies to achieve greater precision and stability. This layering also raises intriguing questions about the evolution of construction practices in the Andes and how knowledge was transmitted across centuries. Hands-on reconstructions indicate that levers, ramps, and coordinated human effort could explain the placement of these immense blocks, yet many details remain speculative. Modern engineers have attempted to replicate sections of the walls using period-appropriate methods, revealing that while the task is extraordinarily demanding, it is achievable without the need for mythical tools or lost technologies. Additionally, ethnographic studies of Andean traditions indicate that techniques for moving and shaping massive stones may have been preserved in ritual knowledge or communal memory, informing construction methods with both practical and symbolic elements. Beyond their engineering, these stones carry cultural and ritual significance, forming ceremonial platforms, defensive walls, and symbols of authority. The terraces overlook Cusco, suggesting a deliberate relationship between architecture, governance, and the surrounding landscape. Certain alignments correspond to solar events, seasonal markers, and local topography, revealing a sophisticated awareness of environmental context. Some scholars argue that Sacsayhuaman functioned as a ceremonial center linked to agricultural cycles, while others highlight its defensive role in pre-Columbian warfare, demonstrating that utility and spirituality were deeply intertwined. Mapping the stones against the sky reveals that certain terraces and stone lines at Sacsayhuaman align precisely with solstices and key celestial bodies, hinting at a sophisticated understanding of the heavens. Researchers have documented alignments that correspond to the June and December solstices, as well as prominent stars such as Sirius and the Pleiades, which were integral to Andean agricultural calendars. Observations indicate that sightlines were deliberately constructed, allowing priests or astronomers to mark seasonal changes and schedule planting or ritual events. This celestial integration implies that builders not only mastered massive stone placement, but also encoded cosmological knowledge within their architecture, blending science, religion, and civic life. These findings deepen our appreciation of the Andean worldview, showing how practical engineering, spiritual beliefs, and astronomical observation coexisted in a seamless, enduring monument. Viewed alongside other global megaliths, comparisons highlight both parallels and unique innovations, raising questions about independent invention versus cultural transmission. While Egyptian and Andean stonework differ dramatically in style and method, both demonstrate the human capacity to manipulate massive materials with precision. Other Andean sites, such as Ollantaytambo and Machu Picchu, show similar polygonal techniques, indicating regional knowledge that evolved independently or was adapted locally. These patterns suggest that civilizations across time and geography converged on effective strategies for handling stone, balancing aesthetics, function, and environmental constraints. Stone cities isolated in the Pacific deepen the mystery of independent innovation, reminding us that human creativity repeatedly achieves the extraordinary, even in remote corners of the world. Sacsayhuaman exemplifies how observational knowledge, environmental adaptation, and collaborative effort coalesced into monumental constructions that endure through time. Every curve, joint, and terrace is evidence of both physical mastery and cognitive foresight, blending practical engineering with cultural expression. As we leave the Andean highlands, the trail of exceptional stonework stretches outward, inviting us to explore distant Pacific islands, isolated continents, and mysterious coastal settlements where human skill once again seems to defy expectation, prompting the question, how far did the instinct to shape stone and space extend before history recorded its full story? A city built on the sea, Nan Madol, emerging from the turquoise waters of Pompeii, Nan Madol's islets form a city unlike any other, a testament to ingenuity shaped by coral and ocean currents. From above, the lagoon's scattered basalt islands resemble an elaborate chessboard, their irregular shapes connected by narrow causeways and canals that twist and turn like veins across the water. Unlike most inland settlements, this city demanded a marriage of architectural vision and environmental mastery, balancing stone, coral, and tide in perfect synchrony. The sheer audacity of constructing monumental structures atop unstable coral foundations underscores a deliberate understanding of both material and maritime limits, forcing modern observers to reconsider the boundaries of ancient engineering. Rows of basalt columns, some weighing over 50 tons, rise from the lagoon, stacked with remarkable precision despite the challenges of a shifting foundation. Each block appears carefully placed to resist the erosion of waves and the subtle movement of coral underfoot. Tool marks suggest deliberate shaping before transport, while some stones were split and adjusted on-site for precise fit. The interlocking pattern of these walls absorbs stress and distributes weight, a natural solution to structural instability that still withstands typhoons and centuries of exposure. These constructions reveal a sophisticated combination of observation, trial and error, and collective knowledge, honed over generations. Canals weave between artificial islands, creating a navigable grid that blends urban planning with hydraulic engineering. Water levels are carefully managed, allowing small boats to move between islands while minimizing erosion. Archaeological surveys indicate that many canals were reinforced with coral rubble, serving as both transport routes and defensive moats. The integration of transportation, defense, and urban organization demonstrates that Nan Madol was far more than a symbolic monument. It was a functional city designed to meet social, political, and environmental demands simultaneously. By following mineral fingerprints, archaeologists trace the stone to volcanic quarries on neighboring islands, revealing the complexity of transport across open water without draft animals or wheeled vehicles. Some basalt columns were floated on rafts or dragged over reef flats during low tide, a feat requiring careful coordination and intimate knowledge of currents. The distances involved sometimes several kilometers suggest a highly organized workforce capable of long-term planning, logistical management, and environmental adaptation. These methods reveal that pre-industrial societies could achieve monumental results with ingenuity, patience, and collective effort, rather than reliance on lost or alien technologies. Settlement patterns suggest a hierarchical society, with temples, royal compounds, and elite residences concentrated on the largest islets. Smaller islands appear to have housed artisans, laborers, or service functions, indicating a division of labor and spatial planning not unlike urban centers elsewhere. Certain islets were aligned with specific tides or wind patterns, likely optimizing access and functionality. The spatial organization conveys both practical and ceremonial priorities, showing that the city was simultaneously a hub of governance, religion, and ritual, reinforcing the authority of its rulers through visible displays of architectural mastery. Experimental reconstructions demonstrate that coordinated labor, rafts, and coral pile foundations could have enabled construction, dispelling notions of impossible technology. Modern archaeologists have attempted small-scale replicas of canals, causeways, and stone placements, confirming that while the task is challenging, it was achievable using local materials and simple mechanical principles. Additionally, the coral foundations acted as natural shock absorbers, distributing weight and preventing walls from toppling. Such insights highlight the adaptability of local builders and their capacity to innovate in response to unique environmental constraints. Seasonal tides and monsoon winds dictated the rhythm of construction and transport at Nan Madol, revealing an intimate understanding of the Pacific environment. Archaeological studies suggest that stone transport and placement were timed to coincide with favorable tidal patterns, minimizing effort and risk when moving massive basalt blocks. Additionally, prevailing winds influenced the orientation of causeways and canals, allowing boats to navigate efficiently between islets. Evidence from sediment cores and erosion patterns indicates that builders accounted for storm surges, coral growth, and tidal fluctuations when selecting sites for key structures. These observations demonstrate that environmental intelligence was as critical to Nan Madol's creation as physical labor, blending ecological observation with engineering to ensure long-term stability and accessibility. Inscriptions and oral traditions hint at ceremonial and political functions, though much remains undeciphered, preserving an aura of mystery. Stories passed down through generations describe divine rulers and sacred rituals linked to specific islands, yet few details survive in tangible form. These narratives, combined with the city's physical layout, suggest a deliberate symbolic geography in which space, water, and stone were infused with meaning. The interplay of myth, ritual, and construction demonstrates that the city was not only an engineering feat, but also a cultural and spiritual statement embedded in its environment. Recent underwater surveys have revealed coral formations shaped and manipulated to stabilize the foundations, hinting at sophisticated knowledge of hydrodynamics. By integrating natural reefs with artificially placed rubble, the builders created a resilient urban grid capable of resisting tides, storms, and erosion. Even minor miscalculations could have undermined the entire complex. Yet the enduring stability of Nan Madol demonstrates a careful, empirical understanding of site conditions. These adaptations suggest iterative learning, passed down over generations, combining observation with experimentation to create one of the most remarkable water-bound cities in human history. When examined regionally, Pacific megalithic sites display adaptive ingenuity, showing how isolated societies solved engineering challenges unique to their environments. While Polynesian and Micronesian stonework differs in scale or style, Nan Madol stands out for its integration of coral foundations, basalt masonry, and canals in a densely organized network. These achievements underscore that isolation did not hinder architectural sophistication. Rather, necessity drove local innovation to extraordinary heights. In every canal, islet, and wall, evidence emerges of creativity, planning, and skill uniquely suited to the Pacific environment. From a coral city, we journey to an island of silent stone faces and undeciphered script, reminding us that human creativity leaves enduring marks in even the most remote corners of the earth. Nan Madol's legacy is one of local brilliance, showing that monumental engineering can emerge from ingenuity and environmental adaptation alone. Its canals, causeways, and basalt walls endure as a tangible record of human problem-solving, challenging our assumptions about what isolated societies could achieve. The city's elegance, complexity, and resilience set the stage for further enigmas, where islands far across the Pacific preserve mysteries of knowledge, power, and cultural expression that still elude modern understanding. The silent script Easter Islands Moai and Rongorongo, casting elongated shadows that stretch toward the horizon, the Moai rise from the volcanic plains of Rapa Nui, silently guarding a history both monumental and mysterious. From the island's rocky coasts, the statues appear almost alive, each head and torso carved with deliberate proportions that suggest a deep understanding of form and balance. Visitors today can sense the precision in their placement, aligned along ceremonial avenues and platforms called ahu, commanding attention across plains and valleys. Their silent presence evokes a society that, despite isolation, cultivated extraordinary symbolic and architectural sophistication, challenging our assumptions about what small island communities could achieve. Carved from compressed volcanic tuff, each statue required months of labour, precise toolwork, and meticulous planning before it could leave the quarry. Archaeological surveys at Rano Raraku, the primary quarry, reveal unfinished moai partially embedded in bedrock, providing direct insight into the carving process. Carvers worked systematically, using basalt picks to outline features and then remove excess stone, achieving remarkable consistency in scale and proportion across hundreds of statues. Even subtle facial features, elongated noses, prominent brows, and defined chins suggest standardization in style and perhaps shared aesthetic or symbolic principles across the island. Transporting these massive figures over rugged terrain likely involved rolling, sledging, or even walking techniques, a testament to collective ingenuity. Ethno-historical accounts and experimental archaeology have tested various methods, showing that small teams could maneuver multi-ton statues with ropes and careful coordination. Some moai may have been walked upright, rocking slowly from side to side along prepared paths. The distances, sometimes several kilometers from quarry to ahu, required logistical planning that demonstrates not only physical skill, but social organization capable of mobilizing labor for complex, long-term projects. Placement on ceremonial platforms reflects both ritual importance and astronomical orientation, revealing a sophisticated understanding of landscape and sky. Some ahu align with solstices or prominent celestial events, suggesting that the moai were more than artistic expressions. They were markers of time, seasons, or sacred events. Their distribution across the island also hints at social and political stratification. Larger statues dominate central locations, while smaller ones occupy peripheral sites, reflecting a hierarchy encoded in stone. The integration of ceremonial, political, and cosmological elements underscores the depth of symbolic reasoning in this remote community. The Rongorongo script, etched onto wooden tablets, remains undeciphered, offering tantalizing glimpses into a lost symbolic system that may encode genealogy, rituals, or calendrical knowledge. The glyphs, composed of human, animal, and geometric motifs, appear to follow structured patterns, suggesting deliberate communication rather than mere decoration. Carbon dating situates the tablets centuries after initial settlement, coinciding with a period of intense cultural development. While some scholars hypothesize that Rongorongo may preserve mnemonic, ritualistic, or historical knowledge, no definitive translation exists, leaving the script as a silent companion to the moai, equally enigmatic in its meaning and function. Carbon dating suggests that the moai and Rongorongo emerged centuries after initial settlement, indicating a period of cultural and technological maturation unique to this isolated island. Early inhabitants arrived around 1200 CE, but the largest statues and most elaborate tablets appear in the subsequent centuries, reflecting evolving artistic and social capabilities. Population growth, resource management, and societal organization may have influenced the scale and complexity of these creations. This temporal gap implies that Rapa Nui's achievements were not immediate, but developed through observation, experimentation, and the gradual accumulation of communal knowledge. Placed alongside other Polynesian societies, comparisons highlight distinctive stylistic choices, reflecting both isolation and local innovation in art, architecture, and writing. While other islands built smaller statues or simpler structures, Rapa Nui produced hundreds of monumental moai and a unique glyph system not seen elsewhere. Material selection, proportion, and orientation reveal intentional design decisions that balanced aesthetics, symbolism, and environmental constraints. This comparative perspective underscores how isolation can foster divergent innovation, creating cultural expressions that are both extraordinary and entirely independent of external influence. Through centuries of European contact and upheaval, traces of oral tradition preserve hints of ceremonial practices that once animated both statue and script. Elders' stories speak of ancestor worship, ritual processions, and the sacred significance of each platform. These narratives, though fragmented, align with archaeological patterns, suggesting that moai placement and Rongorongo usage were embedded in social and religious life. They reveal a society that carefully wove landscape, art, and memory into a cohesive cultural fabric, offering insight into the values, beliefs, and organizational principles that guided monumental creation. The interplay of climate and earth, seasonal winds, and volcanic soil directed Rapa Nui's practices, influencing the timing of construction and resource use. Quarrying and transport often occurred during dry periods, taking advantage of stable terrain and predictable weather, while planting cycles and subsistence activities required careful synchronization with the island's microclimates. The volcanic rock itself dictated carving techniques, as its hardness varied from tough to basalt, necessitating adaptive strategies for tool application. These environmental interactions demonstrate that Rapa Nui's builders possessed not only technical skill, but also ecological literacy, integrating natural rhythms into their monumental projects. Across continents, ancient symbols continue to appear where no connection seems possible, reminding us that even in isolation, human societies achieve remarkable complexity in expression, knowledge, and ritual, pointing to threads of ingenuity that span time and space. The Moai and Rongorongo represent a singular fusion of art, engineering, and symbolic thought, showing that cultural sophistication can emerge without external influence. Their enduring presence challenges assumptions about isolation, scale, and capability, linking Rapa Nui to a global tapestry of human achievement. As scholars continue to study the island, each discovery deepens the mystery, hinting at other symbolic landscapes that may yet reveal forgotten dimensions of human creativity. Earth serpents and cosmic alignments, the Appalachian Serpent Mound. Human fascination with celestial order finds a new form in the winding contours of Ohio's Serpent Mound from the isolated Pacific. Stretching across a gentle hill in Adams County, the effigy seems to slither through time, a silent but deliberate imprint of ancient observation. Viewed from above, its sinuous coils reveal a careful engagement with the land, as if the creators had both the earth and the heavens in mind. Each curve, each bend in the serpent's body, is a conscious act, blending artistry with cosmology, revealing a culture profoundly attuned to the rhythms of nature. Stretching over 400 meters, the effigy represents a serpent, its coils meticulously shaped and graded to conform with the terrain. Its head, coiled tail, and undulating form are not merely decorative, they demonstrate a deliberate patterning, suggesting symbolic meaning as well as visual impact. The mound rises subtly from the surrounding landscape, its proportions astonishingly consistent over hundreds of meters, reflecting careful surveying and labor-intensive construction. Such precision suggests an advanced understanding of geometry and human perception, achieved long before modern instruments. Alignment studies reveal that the mound's head and coils correspond with solstitial sunrises and lunar extremes, indicating sophisticated astronomical observation. During the summer solstice, sunlight aligns with the serpent's open mouth, creating a visual connection between the sculpture and celestial cycles. Lunar standstill events, occurring approximately every 18.6 years, also appear to have guided aspects of the design. These alignments imply that the builders were not simply creating art, they were embedding knowledge into the landscape, transforming the mound into a functional instrument for marking celestial phenomena. Radiocarbon dating of charcoal deposits within the mound places construction between 1000 and 1400 CE, attributing the monument to indigenous cultures of the region, likely the Fort Ancient people. Earlier, Adena constructions in Ohio may have influenced stylistic choices, but the serpent's scale and alignment suggest an evolution in ceremonial and observational practices. This chronological framing situates the mound firmly within a known cultural trajectory, demonstrating that extraordinary landscape engineering emerged locally rather than from external, lost civilizations. Soil analysis and excavation reveal carefully layered earth, indicating deliberate planning and labor organization. Builders selected specific soil types for stability, layering them with alternating organic and mineral-rich materials to prevent erosion and maintain structural integrity. Experimental archaeology suggests that teams of a few dozen workers could have shaped the mound over months or years, using simple tools such as digging sticks, wooden levers, and woven baskets. This combination of material knowledge and coordinated effort highlights a level of engineering acumen comparable to other monumental projects worldwide, even in the absence of writing systems or advanced machinery. In the context of local earthworks, repeated symbols, birds, bears, and geometric forms hint at a shared cosmology and ritual tradition. While the serpent remains the largest and most famous, smaller mounds functioned as markers for habitation zones, sacred spaces, or burial sites. These patterns indicate a culture deeply invested in embedding meaning into the landscape, connecting physical geography with social, ceremonial, and spiritual life. The repetition of motifs across hundreds of miles underscores the possibility of a coordinated symbolic language developed over generations. Ethnographic evidence preserves oral traditions linking serpents and celestial bodies, demonstrating cultural continuity in symbolic reasoning. Stories collected from indigenous descendants describe serpents as water bringers, protectors, or mediators between worlds. They reinforce the connection between mound building, seasonal cycles, and ritual practice, providing cultural context for the monumental earthworks. These traditions, though fragmentary, illuminate the worldview behind the construction, one where natural forces, ancestors, and celestial patterns intersect in purposeful alignment. Archaeological surveys also indicate that the mound functioned as a communal focal point, likely integrating social, ceremonial, and calendrical functions. Excavations around the mound reveal post holes, hearths, and small enclosures that may have hosted gatherings, ritual performances, or educational activities. The serpent itself would have acted as a visual anchor, guiding attention to specific celestial events and connecting participants to the landscape. This integration of structure, symbolism, and social activity demonstrates an understanding of both human behavior and environmental rhythms, further reinforcing the sophistication of the builder's culture. This pattern becomes clearer when examining symbols carved on stone across continents, reminding us that humans everywhere have sought to connect land and sky, leaving clues that continue to challenge and inspire modern interpretation. While the Serpent Mound reflects indigenous North American astronomy, rather than evidence of a lost global civilization, its precision contributes to a broader tapestry of ancient sky-focused cultures. Across deserts, islands, and river valleys, societies encoded meaning into monuments, aligning with stars, solstices, or cosmic myths. The Appalachian effigy, like the Moai of Rapa Nui or Nabta celestial stones, exemplifies a universal human impulse to understand the heavens, embed knowledge in the earth, and create enduring monuments that speak across millennia. Echoes in stone global petroglyphs and shared symbols. After the earth itself became a canvas in Ohio, human hands turn once more to stone, leaving marks that span continents and millennia. Across cliffs, boulders, and caves, sunlight illuminates shapes carved by prehistoric artists, casting shadows that echo through time. Each engraving is a deliberate gesture connecting observer and cosmos, memory and material. Unlike monumental earthworks, these carvings invite intimate contemplation, yet their distribution and recurring motifs suggest a shared human fascination with the heavens, the land, and symbolic order. Through spirals, anthropomorphic forms, and radiant discs, ancient people encoded observations, beliefs, and stories, leaving an enduring language of stone. In Azerbaijan's Gobustan, panels of etched animals and human figures preserve traces of Pleistocene life alongside enigmatic spirals. Bison, goats, and ibex stride across rocky surfaces, often paired with dancers and hunters, suggesting ceremonial as well as narrative purposes. Spiral motifs recur throughout the site, their geometric precision hinting at symbolic or astronomical meaning. Archaeologists date many of the carvings to between 10,000 and 5,000 years ago, revealing that even in the earliest sedentary or semi-nomadic societies, humans were already layering meaning upon the natural world. Gobustan's combination of representational and abstract imagery creates a dialogue between observation, ritual, and cognition. Across the Sahara, Tassili Najer's rock shelters depict cattle, dancers, and celestial forms, executed with extraordinary finesse and enduring clarity. Painted and carved over millennia, these artworks record shifts in climate, subsistence, and cultural practice, illustrating how humans adapted and observed cycles of nature. The depiction of sun-like discs and concentric circles may reflect an early attempt to track seasonal or solar phenomena, integrating environmental knowledge with spiritual or communal practice. Tassili Najer demonstrates that even in isolation, complex symbolic traditions emerge, with motifs that will echo across continents and centuries. On the western edge of North America, the Coso Range petroglyphs feature repeated sunburst motifs and geometric patterns, their consistency suggesting ritual or calendrical purpose. Etched into dark basalt, these images represent deer, bighorn, sheep, and abstract designs that appear to codify movement, time, or cosmological understanding. Archaeological evidence suggests some panels were revisited over centuries, with new layers of engraving accumulating, reflecting ongoing engagement with sacred or observational traditions. The parallels between these motifs and those in distant regions hint at universal human cognitive tendencies rather than direct contact. In Italy's Val Camonica, thousands of engraved symbols span millennia, recording both myth and quotidian life with remarkable continuity. From simple lines to complex anthropomorphic figures, these carvings reveal social hierarchies, ritual acts, and possibly astronomical observation. Over 140,000 individual symbols have been catalogued, offering one of the largest and most comprehensive windows into prehistoric symbolic thought in Europe. Spirals, concentric circles, and human figures recur frequently, echoing motifs seen in North America, Africa, and Asia, suggesting that certain forms resonate deeply with human perception and representation. India's Bhimbetka rock shelters provide evidence of early symbolic abstraction, including spirals, concentric circles, and dancing figures aligned with seasonal light. Carvings and paintings here, dated as far back as 30,000 years, indicate not only continuity of human habitation, but also the capacity to integrate ritual, observation, and artistic expression. The juxtaposition of animal imagery and abstract symbols may reflect the encoding of both environmental knowledge and cosmological belief. Seasonal illumination patterns emphasize that humans were attentive to cycles of the sun and moon, translating celestial phenomena into durable, interpretable forms. Comparative analysis reveals that spirals, solar disks, and anthropomorphic shapes recur worldwide, pointing not to a single origin, but to convergent human cognition and symbolic expression. While Gobustan, Tassili Najer, Coso Range, Val Camonica, and Bhimbetka are geographically and temporally separated, the recurrence of certain motifs suggests shared strategies for making sense of the world. Spirals may denote motion, water, or spiritual journeys. Radiant discs likely symbolize the sun, and anthropomorphic figures convey ritual or social narratives. Across all these sites, the human urge to abstract, encode, and communicate transcends environment and culture. Ethnographic and experimental studies support the idea that these recurring motifs reflect deep-seated human cognitive tendencies. Spiral shapes, for instance, naturally attract attention and are easily replicated with simple tools, making them ideal symbols for conveying movement or cyclical time. Solar imagery emerges in countless cultures as a focal point for observation and ritual, while anthropomorphic figures anchor communal memory and myth. These patterns reveal that, even without written language, humans universally sought to translate perception, cosmology, and social identity into durable forms. In monuments predating the pyramids, patterns of light and stone converge, where human fascination with the heavens, geometry, and memory crystallizes in ways that continue to puzzle and inspire. Petroglyphs, like mounds, megaliths, and temples, represent a continuum of human expression, a desire to observe, encode, and leave a legacy in the material world. The echoes of shared motifs remind us that, despite geographic separation, early humans grappled with similar questions about existence, time, and the cosmos. These symbolic continuities prepare the audience to encounter monumental structures that predate known civilizations, where precision, scale, and meaning converge in ways that challenge modern assumptions about our collective past. Light in the Darkness, Newgrange, and ancient solar engineering, where earlier rock art captured human imagination, Newgrange channels the cosmos itself into stone, bridging observation and architecture. Rising gently in Ireland's Boyne Valley, the mound conceals a passage tomb over 5,000 years old, its circular silhouette crowned by 97 curbstones. The structure's scale and sophistication suggest a community capable of long-term planning and ritual expression, transforming a simple mound into a stage for human interaction with the sun. Unlike rock carvings, which capture fleeting gestures or symbolic narratives, Newgrange integrates movement, light, and space, creating a living monument that activates only under precise astronomical conditions. The mound's circular form conceals a passage, meticulously oriented, so that winter solstice sunlight penetrates the inner chamber with astonishing exactitude. Each December, a narrow beam slides along the passage floor, gradually illuminating the chamber's central stone altar. The phenomenon lasts only minutes, yet it was deliberately engineered, reflecting knowledge accumulated over generations. This alignment required careful observation of the sun's seasonal shifts, tracking its low horizon arc, and marking the solstice point with an accuracy that still impresses modern archaeoastronomers. Builders relied on experimental observation, returning each year to mark the sun's rising point, gradually refining the corridor's alignment over decades. Archaeological evidence suggests that they documented changes and adapted their construction accordingly, a process akin to scientific trial and error. The precision implies a long-term communal memory, where knowledge of solar movement was preserved, possibly through oral tradition or ritual practice, and applied to guide labour and stone placement with extraordinary accuracy. Massive stones were quarried locally and transported with remarkable ingenuity, using wooden rollers, levers, and sledges across uneven terrain. Some orthostats weigh several tons, demanding coordinated human effort and sophisticated problem-solving. Seasonal labour patterns may have been used to align construction with agricultural downtime, ensuring both workforce availability and ritual timing. These logistical feats reveal not just technical skill, but social organization capable of executing a project of unprecedented complexity for the Neolithic period. Inside, the corbelled roof rises with geometric elegance, each stone carefully shaped to distribute weight and maintain stability over millennia. The inward-leaning stones form a self-supporting vault, while subtle angles and carefully chosen stone dimensions prevent collapse. Detailed analysis shows that builders selected specific rock types for their compressive strength and durability, demonstrating an intuitive understanding of engineering principles. The interior's acoustics may also have been intentionally designed, amplifying ritual chants and reinforcing the sacred atmosphere during solstice ceremonies. Carvings etched into curbstones and orthostats blend artistry with function, depicting spirals, lozenges, and concentric circles that correspond to solar and lunar cycles. Spirals may symbolize the sun's annual journey or the cycles of life and death, while lozenges mark periods of seasonal change. These motifs are echoed across other Irish passage tombs, suggesting a shared symbolic language that interweaves cosmology, ritual, and memory. The carvings transform functional architecture into a multi-dimensional experience, merging science, spirituality, and aesthetics. Organic traces within the tunnel suggest ceremonial activity spanning seasons, not limited to the winter solstice. Archaeologists have detected traces of charred plant matter, pigments, and incense-like substances, indicating that Neolithic communities may have performed ceremonies at multiple times of year. The patterns of wear on the floor stones suggest repeated movement along specific paths, possibly aligned with lunar phases or agricultural cycles. These findings reveal that Newgrange functioned as a living ceremonial centre, dynamically interacting with the landscape, celestial patterns, and human activity, rather than being a monument used only once annually. The complexity of these behaviours implies a community attuned to both environmental rhythms and symbolic meaning, embedding layers of cultural knowledge into the architecture itself. Recent laser and photogrammetry studies reveal micro-adjustments in placement, suggesting the builders accounted for subtle atmospheric refraction and seasonal variation. Stones are not perfectly level, but slightly tilted to correct for optical distortion, ensuring that sunlight reaches the altar with maximal effect. This attention to detail indicates an empirical approach, combining observation, measurement, and practical experimentation, and demonstrates that Neolithic societies could encode complex astronomical knowledge into enduring monuments. Comparisons with Maeshowe in Orkney, Loughcrew in Ireland, and Gavrinis in Brittany highlight both shared European Neolithic knowledge and distinctive local innovation in form and function. Each site demonstrates awareness of solstice events, yet Newgrange's scale, precision, and elaborate carvings remain unparalleled. These parallels suggest cultural transmission or convergent evolution of ideas, revealing that early human societies independently sought to align the heavens with their ceremonial architecture in ways that were highly localized, yet conceptually interconnected. Archaeological evidence indicates organized labor, social coordination, and the transmission of technical knowledge across generations, pointing to a sophisticated community capable of monumental work. Laborers likely followed precise plans, balancing practical constraints with ceremonial considerations. Tools for shaping and moving stones show an advanced understanding of leverage and friction, and the community's long-term commitment reflects both spiritual motivation and shared cultural vision. Far from a random effort, the construction of Newgrange embodies strategic planning, empirical reasoning, and collective ingenuity. The interplay of light, stone, and human intention at Newgrange illuminates not just a winter sunrise, but a universal impulse to understand, record, and ritualize cosmic patterns, leading naturally to the next global chapters of monumental precision. While it does not indicate a lost global civilization, the tomb exemplifies a recurring theme: humans embedding knowledge and cosmology into enduring stone. Across continents and millennia, societies encoded environmental and celestial understanding into monumental works, leaving legacies that continue to awe, inspire, and puzzle us today. This mastery of observation and architecture prepares the audience to encounter other prehistoric structures, where human ingenuity converges with natural cycles in even more astonishing ways. Cities under the earth, Cappadocia's underground labyrinths. Descending from the sunlit plateau, shadows lengthen as the labyrinth unfolds beneath the surface, revealing an intricate network of tunnels carved into soft volcanic tuff. At first glance, the corridors seem chaotic, yet each passage connects with deliberate purpose, leading to chambers of varying size and function. Archaeologists have uncovered at least 36 separate underground complexes in the region, some extending more than 60 meters deep, indicating not a single monumental effort, but centuries of cumulative labor. The sheer scale challenges assumptions about prehistoric organization and raises questions about the knowledge, planning, and cultural continuity necessary to construct such environments. Ventilation shafts pierce the rock with uncanny precision, demonstrating an advanced understanding of airflow long before formal engineering existed. Some shafts rise several meters to the surface, cleverly disguised to maintain defensive secrecy, while ensuring oxygen reaches deeper chambers. This careful planning reveals an intimate awareness of human needs and environmental constraints, suggesting that builders possessed empirical knowledge honed through trial, observation, and intergenerational experience. Each adjustment within the labyrinth reflects both practical necessity and a sophisticated architectural mindset. Narrow corridors open into vast halls, their ceilings supported by massive stone pillars carved directly from the surrounding rock. These chambers served multiple functions: storage rooms for grain, communal spaces for gatherings, and possibly ritual areas whose purpose remains elusive. The scale of the rooms, combined with their connectivity, indicates forethought in anticipating population growth and social organization, revealing the builder's capacity for complex planning. Wall surfaces bear subtle markings that hint at earlier construction phases, demonstrating an evolving approach to subterranean architecture. Overlapping construction phases reveal how communities expanded the underground world gradually, rather than building it all at once. Radiocarbon dating of organic material in hearths and refuse pits confirms staggered occupancy, while stratigraphy suggests adaptations to both environmental changes and shifting social needs. This incremental development implies that knowledge was carefully transmitted through generations, ensuring that each new tunnel integrated seamlessly into the existing system. The labyrinth was thus not only a shelter, but a living monument to cultural persistence. Rock layers preserve evidence of tools and techniques, from simple stone chisels to wooden levers, revealing how the soft volcanic tuff was shaped with remarkable precision. Tool marks indicate a variety of methods, including chiseling, pounding, and abrasion, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of the material's properties. Some stones were smoothed to create stable flooring or seating, while corners and supports were meticulously carved to maintain structural integrity. These details attest to human ingenuity and demonstrate that even without advanced metallurgy, Neolithic societies could manipulate their environment with skillful expertise. Strategically placed escape routes and hidden staircases reflect defensive considerations alongside domestic needs. The labyrinth's design suggests that their creators anticipated threats, whether from rival groups or environmental hazards, and incorporated fail-safes to protect inhabitants. In some cases, narrow choke points and concealed openings would allow defenders to control access, while storage chambers deep within ensured sustenance during sieges. The combination of practicality and foresight illustrates a sophisticated understanding of both human behavior and the surrounding landscape. Hidden inscriptions etched into pillar surfaces reveal symbolic or ritual significance, hinting at beliefs intertwined with daily survival. Excavators have identified abstract motifs, animal depictions, and geometric patterns carved subtly into walls and pillars, suggesting that beyond practical construction, these spaces also held cultural or ceremonial importance. These markings may have served as guidance for navigation within the labyrinth, conveyed spiritual meanings, or recorded significant events. Some symbols align with celestial patterns, reinforcing a connection between subterranean life and broader cosmological observations, and hinting at a sophisticated cultural consciousness embedded within the very architecture. Organic deposits, pottery fragments, and hearth remains allow researchers to reconstruct aspects of daily life underground. Evidence of domesticated animals, food storage, and cooking practices reveals that inhabitants were capable of sustaining themselves for extended periods. Microscopic pollen and charred plant remains provide insight into the diet, including grains, legumes, and wild plants, showing adaptation to both subterranean and surface environments. These findings paint a picture of a resilient, resourceful society deeply attuned to its ecosystem. Examining multiple Anatolian settlements, similarities point to the transmission and evolution of subterranean construction techniques rather than isolated invention. Similar techniques appear in Derinkuyu, Kaymakli, and Maza, indicating communication, cultural exchange, and shared problem-solving across communities. While no evidence supports a global first civilization, these patterns demonstrate that localized innovation could achieve feats of remarkable complexity. The labyrinths stand as enduring proof that early societies were capable of cumulative technological and architectural achievement. Geophysical surveys and 3D reconstructions show how these subterranean spaces were designed to optimize airflow, lighting, and structural stability. Some chambers include angled ceilings to reduce stress on supporting pillars, while narrow corridors minimize collapse risk. Light sources, primarily oil lamps, were strategically placed to maximize visibility without depleting oxygen or producing excessive smoke. These design elements reveal a nuanced understanding of physics and human ergonomics that is striking for a society without formal engineering education. Climbing from the labyrinth below, one sees linear markings on the plateau that hint at surface connections, implying the underground cities were components of a greater plan. Some lines align with seasonal sun patterns, water sources, or trade routes, linking subterranean ingenuity with surface-level strategy. In contemplating these hidden cities, viewers can appreciate not just the technical achievement, but the human drive to adapt, survive, and shape environments according to need and belief. The subterranean networks of Cappadocia thus serve as a bridge between the practical and the monumental, guiding us toward the next chapter. Arid plateaus, where surface lines and astronomical alignments suggest an equally deliberate interaction with the sky above. Messages to the heavens, the Nazca lines. The journey ascends into Peru's arid desert plains, from the hidden corridors beneath Cappadocia, where the earth itself becomes a canvas for human imagination. Stretching over 50 miles of coastal scrubland, the Nazca lines reveal a civilization that translated observation, belief, and ritual into colossal geoglyphs, visible only from above. These lines, straight paths, geometric figures, and immense animal and humanoid forms remain precise across kilometers, their proportions preserved with remarkable accuracy despite millennia of wind, rain, and seismic activity. The scale of the endeavor suggests coordinated labor, careful planning, and a sophisticated understanding of both geometry and landscape, raising questions about how prehistoric societies achieved such feats without aerial perspective. Researchers have long marveled at the largest straight lines, some extending nearly 10 kilometers, running perfectly parallel for long stretches before veering into complex forms. Drones, satellite imagery, and LiDAR technology have unveiled previously hidden figures and subtle curves, showing that what appears as simple from the ground is, in fact, a deliberate orchestration of space. Survey markers found along several lines indicate that builders used basic tools, ropes, stakes, and sight lines, combined with careful observation of the desert's flat horizon to ensure astonishing precision. These findings illuminate a methodical approach. Repeated measurement, adjustment, and communal execution guided the creation of each figure, reflecting social organization and an eye for both scale and proportion. The animal geoglyphs, spiders, hummingbirds, monkeys, and even a condor are not mere decoration. Some align with surrounding topography, while others correspond to astronomical phenomena such as solstice, sunrise points, or star risings, hinting at ritualized observation of the sky. Anthropologists suggest that these images served as symbolic guides for religious ceremonies or offerings to deities associated with fertility, water, or celestial cycles. While direct evidence of specific ritual practices remains elusive, wear patterns and ceremonial artifacts recovered near the lines indicate that the sites were centers of repeated human activity rather than transient artistic experiments. Intriguingly, the geometric figures, including trapezoids, triangles, and spirals, often surpass natural intuition in their proportions. Experimental archaeology shows that even without modern instruments, communities could achieve these results through rudimentary but disciplined surveying techniques, relying on human measurement and iterative correction. Some trapezoids and angles correspond to solar and stellar alignments, suggesting that builders encoded cosmological knowledge into their work, bridging art, science, and ritual in ways that echo patterns observed at other ancient monuments worldwide. The desert's flatness, coupled with visibility from nearby foothills, may have served as both guide and vantage point, allowing overseers to monitor accuracy as lines extended for kilometers. Environmental studies provide further insight. Analysis of soil layers and microtopography reveals that geoglyph creators intentionally removed dark surface pebbles, exposing lighter subsoil beneath to create lasting contrast. Seasonal factors, including dry periods that stabilize the ground, may have been deliberately timed for construction. Watercourses and nearby mountain shadows influence placement, integrating environmental knowledge into symbolic expression. These considerations suggest an advanced understanding of natural cycles and local ecology, blending practical construction insight with cultural or spiritual imperatives. Dating the geoglyphs remains challenging, but radiocarbon analysis of nearby habitation layers, charcoal deposits, and tool fragments points to construction beginning around 500 BCE and continuing for several centuries. This longevity demonstrates not only the persistence of technical knowledge across generations, but also the maintenance of cultural and ritual continuity. The repeated refinement and expansion of figures imply a dynamic relationship between community memory, shared purpose, and environmental observation, producing monuments that were both enduring and adaptive to natural conditions. Comparison with global sites underscores a universal human impulse. Like Cappadocia's underground cities, Newgrange's winter solstice alignment, or Sacsayhuaman's interlocking stones, the Nazca lines demonstrate that human ingenuity repeatedly manifests as monumental works adapted to context, land, sky, and society. Yet, unlike subterranean corridors or pyramids, these geoglyphs demand a perspective inaccessible to ground-bound observers, emphasizing the interplay between human planning and the aerial vantage point. Their very design forces us to confront the scope of cognitive and organizational capabilities present in prehistoric communities, revealing sophistication previously underestimated by conventional timelines. Technological studies of the geoglyphs continue to reveal surprises. Recent LiDAR surveys indicate micro-adjustments in line curvature that compensate for visual distortion, suggesting careful calibration over long distances. Anthropologists have replicated portions using ropes and stakes, confirming that precision over kilometers could be achieved without advanced instruments, provided sustained observation and iterative correction. These findings reinforce the notion that the Nazca lines embody empirical knowledge, observation, experimentation, and measurement, encoded into monumental earthworks. The social implications are equally compelling. Coordinated labor of this magnitude implies organized leadership, shared cultural vision, and ritualized incentives for participation. Seasonal labor may have coincided with agricultural downtime, allowing full communal engagement while synchronizing effort with environmental rhythms. The effort was not merely symbolic but functional, linking daily life with spiritual expression, environmental awareness, and long-term cultural memory. Communities were capable of aligning the earthly plane with celestial patterns, encoding meaning across scales visible to the heavens, even if they never intended it for our modern eyes. Despite their immense size and meticulous construction, the Nazca lines are isolated. There is no evidence that their creators maintained a global network or drew knowledge from a lost civilization. Yet when viewed as part of the broader panorama of early human achievement, they contribute to a recurring pattern. Disparate societies independently developed monumental expressions, integrating ritual, astronomy, and landscape. Across continents and millennia, humans sought to project meaning onto stone, soil, and terrain, translating observation into lasting symbols that still awe, puzzle, and inspire. Ultimately, the Nazca lines affirm that early societies, while regionally specific, achieved extraordinary feats of planning, measurement, and environmental integration. They are not evidence of a forgotten global civilization, but rather of the persistent human drive to understand the world, encode knowledge, and communicate with forces beyond immediate perception. As the desert stretches endlessly, these monumental drawings, etched into the earth with painstaking care, become a silent testament to human ingenuity, bridging imagination, observation, and communal effort. From the underground cities of Cappadocia to the Nazca lines above, the documentary's journey underscores a single truth. Humanity's earliest innovations share a common spark, echoing across geography and time, each extraordinary in its own context, while collectively shaping our understanding of prehistoric achievement. Across deserts, oceans, and mountain plateaus, we have traced the echoes of human curiosity, etched in stone, aligned with stars, and carved into the earth itself. Each monument, glyph, and alignment reminds us that the drive to understand, observe, and leave a mark is timeless, stretching far beyond our recorded history. These traces do not prove a single lost civilization, but they illuminate a shared human impulse to shape meaning from the world around us. As shadows lengthen across ancient stones, the earth whispers its secrets, waiting for each new generation to listen and wonder. If you've been captivated by this journey, like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.